Check 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2. Okay. All right, we're ready. All right, hey everybody. It is Brandon with FastDataScience.ai, and welcome to another week of This Week in AI, the show where I bring you my review of top articles, news articles in the fields of data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. I provide you with a little bit of my interpretation. We talk a little bit about the industry. Hopefully, we all take a thing or two away about current trends, really interesting insights and things that are happening that relate to this field that is affecting all of us more and more every day. So today, I find you on a rather special day. Today is the celebration of Earth Day. And so wrong one. So for today, we want to celebrate Earth. And as my neighbors are firing up their gas-powered leaf blowers and their lawn mowers, we celebrate the delicate balance and relationship that we as humans share with this wonderful planet. And if you happen to jump into Google this morning to do some searching, you would have seen that Google actually pitched up an image that looks like this. This is a satellite image that shows that we have had some rather significant snow melt over the last 20 years. And so for somebody like me, who's a data scientist, I look at this and I see data. And there's no question that if you're a budding data scientist or you're really interested in how to leverage digital information and data to help us here on this planet today, right now, this is a pressing issue, that there is tons of great resources out there and tons of great project ideas, particularly when you think about local issues, right? So how is climate change affecting your local area? You can take advantage of really great data sources, be they images like this, satellite images, or other data sources on rainfall and fires and all kinds of information like that, to help understand and pursue, one, building out some really cool portfolio projects to help kind of raise and elevate your visibility in the field, but two, to also really think about making a contribution and really understanding how climate change and the intersection of data science to help us understand climate change can really kind of impact not just the world, right? There's a lot of very global initiatives, but locally I think there's not enough attention locally. So consider that for some of your ideas as you think about data sources. Here's a great resource that I found. I wanted to share it with you today because today is Earth Day. Earthdata.nasa.gov has some access to some great information that can be leveraged in a project idea, but there are lots of other resources available online. And believe it or not, from an image like this, you can actually there are methods available for us to determine and derive lots of additional data just from the satellite image. Things like soil composition and other concepts that I'm not all that familiar with because I'm not a geospatial person, but had a little bit of experience there. And in that experience, I've seen some of the great things that you can derive. And again, like I mentioned, tons of great resources. But let's go ahead and move into today's show. So today is another episode of This Week in AI, the show, again, where I bring you my interpretation of some of the major and most interesting news articles that hit the industry over the last week, give you a little bit of my interpretation and my experience on how I think that is relevant, why I really give a crap, why we should all give a crap, right, about some of that information that's being shared every day. And so today has a theme. Today's show has a theme, and that theme is not Earth data. Nope, get out of here. It is thinking right. And that is intentional. Remember, this is the show where you get low quality video, high quality content, and really bad AI puns. And so here's another one. Really what this means is there were a couple of articles this week that really got me thinking about AI, and really not just thinking about AI, but thinking about how to use AI and what the consequence of that use is. So we cover a couple of articles that really kind of tackle this issue of how do we think right with AI. No, that's not rate, like Bonnie Raitt or anything. I know I have a little bit of a penchant for celebrities, but no. It's thinking right. And so we're going to tackle some really fundamental kind of issues about how to think properly with artificial intelligence, how to think about it. Something that I think is a really pressing issue because AI is so ubiquitous. Okay, so let's jump in. Oh my gosh, I forgot to change that. Are you kidding me? This is just this is hilarious. Okay, so today is the 22nd of April, not the 21st. And when we take a look at what we found sitting in my inbox for alerts on data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence news, we get 80 articles once again. 80 articles. There was a 4-topic solution, so smaller grouping of topics this week in those news articles. What we found were the following. There were a lot of articles about working in the field, about 15. We had, obviously, again, rising back to the top in our topic list is education. So lots of articles on just how people get educated with data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. There's that little teeny tiny group of two articles there, and I think they're just acronyms, and so hey, Scrapey was able to put those into their own bucket. And then the final one is thinking, and that really is the theme that I talked about today. So thinking about AI, how do we think about it? How do we think about what we're building? What are the consequences of what we're building? So let's go ahead and dive into our first article, which is the idea that framing data science problems the right way from the start is fundamental to the success of those projects. You hear this statistic cited all the time, that 80% of data science projects never make it to production. And that may be true. I don't discount that or discredit that statistic, but I do think that it helps to maybe blurs a perception about the activities that data scientists undergo, because oftentimes those experiments, right, that are happening, and a lot of them do fail, they're leading towards a solution. And so think of it like a funnel. If you're solving a new problem, you need to give yourself, especially if it's a new problem, a lot of extra time at the top when you're first working with the data and trying to figure out how to solve that problem, and you're iterating over some possibilities with your data science skill set and toolbox. And as you iterate, those things are expected to fail. They are not the final product. You slowly start to get down into a position where now you're iterating over experiments that are much closer to business value. So to do that, you got to really spend time making sure that you frame the data science problem right. And that's what this article really gets at. Data science project failure can often be attributed to that poor problem definition. Early intervention can prevent it. So why do we care about this? Because poor problem definition in data science is common. A lot of that's due to just a lack of understanding of what the toolkit is capable of producing. But it also has to do with the fact that a lot of data scientists still need to do their due diligence in understanding the business problem that they're solving. So how do we do that? First and number one is build that understanding from the people who are the front lines of that business. Get into the interviews with them, understand what exactly it is that they're trying to solve. What are their pain points? And then you can use something called the drill down method. The drill down method just sort of starts with that high level understanding of the business and then saying, okay, yeah, but then what, right? What's next? What do I need to know? How do I slowly go from business problem and pain point down to specific data elements that relate to that problem? Notice I didn't say they solve that problem. They relate to that problem. And that's where we as data scientists need to understand how the data may relate to the problem, so we can start to formulate possible solutions with our data science toolkit. And in addition to that, we need to also be clear on what exactly the metric is that the business is trying to move. What is that KPI? There it is again, that key performance indicator, because it's different than the target that you may define that you think is related to that KPI, because you're going to build a model to predict that target. Okay, so again, problem definition, start at a high level, get lots of feedback and buy-in from your stakeholders, from those business folks on the front lines, and then take that information and try and draw relationships to available data or possibly available data, with the understanding that those things are only hypotheses. We don't know if that data is actually related to the problem, because essentially they exist in two different contexts. So we got to help bring that together. Okay. Exploring data features and modeling approaches. Once you've got those lines created, from problem to data, then you can start iterating over possible solutions. And that's where the experimentation comes in. If you've done that, if you've done your due diligence to do this, then you are going to be a lot more likely to succeed in the end in producing something that's probably beneficial for that problem. Okay, moving right along to the next article. Okay, I rarely do this. In fact, I never do this. But this article hit. I thought it was interesting, and here it is. Top 10 no-brainer. See, again, we're going on the theme. Thinking right. Okay, these are top 10 no-brainers. So take the brain out of it. Data science stocks to buy for good returns. Okay, I never do this. I never talk about stocks. But hey, why not? Why do I care? Why do I care? Well, I care because, hey, money, 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 money. Okay, so yeah, interesting article, really interesting opinions about 10 stocks. From those 10 stocks, here's my opinion. And really, this is just, me looking. I don't play the stock market very often. And it's certainly not a skill set that I consider myself to be good at, to say the least. Sure, I've messed around with stock data a little bit before and price prediction, but nevertheless, here would be my yays and my nays from that article. And I'm just going to tell you why. So Palantir, huge presence. They are a group that is making some very significant headway in quite a few different industries. They have a pretty innovative approach to those industries, and they are really creating a lot of buzz. And that buzz, their leadership, you look at the way in which that company is positioned, it's some of the innovation they're involved with. Risky for sure, but I would say that company is a good one to bet on. They have a lot of really cool stuff going on, and people are really excited about them. Those two things make for some good, I think, investment. The other one is C3.ai. So actually, I was introduced to C3.ai probably about, maybe almost 10 years ago. I was listening to NPR and they had an ad, and so I went and checked them out. And that was early iterations of some of their platform. Their platform is really meant to bring AI into manufacturing and IoT through a platform that continues to perform really, really, really well. Innovative company for a very niche area of IoT. They have solved some major kind of industry issues on scalable AI for manufacturing, and so I've watched them. I still continue to watch them, and I think they're a good bet. Some of the nays: Teradata and Docusign. So Teradata, again, an old database company, been around for a little while. Great database product, fantastic. I still have friends that work there and colleagues that used to work there. Great product, lots of great things going on. However, tremendous competition. They are coming into a space that is moving to cloud extremely fast. I think they were a little bit late on that game, although they've made a lot of that up, a lot of where they missed. But nevertheless, I'm still kind of watching that market closely because the database market is going, gangbusters right now. So it's hard to know how a company like Teradata, who kind of staked a lot of their original IP and investment in on-premise appliances and high-performing databases, move into this more kind of hybrid cloud stuff. I think that there's been some, like I said, lots of competition. So I think it's a risky bet. DocuSign is the next company. DocuSign, also another area that has tremendous competition. DocuSign is just one of many document signing solutions. It was interesting to see it on here. I think they are doing some innovative things. Again, given the competition, the fact that I don't know a whole lot about that industry, I would say for me personally, it's an A, and that's where I get to my final disclaimer here. This is not actual investment advice. It is just my opinion. Please seek out the advice of a true professional. Do not take my advice as something that you should act on. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into what caught my eye for this week, and continuing with our theme about thinking properly about AI. This article really made a lot of waves this last week. AI is mastering language. Should we trust what it says? OpenAI's GPT-3 and other neural nets can now write original prose with mind-boggling fluency, a development that could have profound implications for the future. So really, really well-written article. It's in the New York Times. It is long. There are a lot of excellent points. But for me, really the big kind of take homes are, I think important for us to continue talking about as a society. So a lot of this article is built around the author's relationship that he had, sort of developed with GPT-3. That is the large language model that OpenAI released last year. And the article really tackles the innovation of that model in particular, but also there have been some other very, very large, multi-billion, multi-trillion parameter language models that have since also been built. But GPT-3 has had the biggest, I think, social impact because they opened it up to developers and people could start really kind of interacting. The author of this article did just that, started interacting and really just kind of exploring what are the capabilities of GPT-3. So large language models are wildly articulate. Sort of is what you get struck with. But one of the key points that this article really drives home is some of the criticism. So a lot of people ask the question, does that mean that GPT-3 is some kind of like early stage awareness, that there's some, kind of primitive, cognitive, awareness happening or understanding of higher order concepts to help answer some of the questions? Some of that criticism, though, I think is really important for us to keep in mind. And that is, that fundamentally, these models are built very simply to just predict the next word based off of some input of words. Okay? That's fundamentally all these models are intended to do, is just predict the next word. What makes them different is that they are trained on data sets that are massive. The entire internet. Imagine training a data set on the entirety of the internet. And what you learn is that there's a lot in that data you didn't expect. And those surprises maybe create the sense that the intelligent thing is more intelligent than, just this simple premise of predicting the next word. But again, at the end of the day, that's what the math is doing. The math is just trying to come up with the best possible prediction of the next words or series of words that come after a prompt of words. Trained on an insanely large data set, you get some surprises, and certainly we have seen those surprises, excuse me. But are they truly intelligent? This article does a very good job of tackling that very, very interesting argument. Those who, disagree say, hey, look, let's be clear. These are just predicting the next word, and they do a really good job because they're trained on all this English stuff. Others say, yeah, but there's a lot that's happening in those very complex neural networks that could create the presence of emergent intelligence, or emergent properties that were not inherently encoded into the system, but due to the complexity of the system, create their own sort of organization that might primitively mimic, or at least maybe suggest, the presence of some intelligence. Where do I sit on this? I think it's important for us not to over personify, right, these products. We have to be very clear at what they are intended to do. But I do think we can ask these deep philosophical questions. Are they truly just stochastic parrots, right, where they just take in sequences and spit out other sequences? Or are they developing the emergence of something that's a little bit more complex than that? And again, I think there's still a lot of research that needs to be done. I think there's a lot of application that we need to do with these products, because one of the things that we've seen is that there's no question, not only do they encode really wonderful and beautiful things like the ability to summarize complex physics concepts like quantum physics, but also they have our, sort of tendency to encode our biases. And those biases run rampant on the internet. And so people have indeed uncovered examples of how GPT-3 can respond in ways that are bigoted, that may recommend things for your health that would actually kill you. So there is no moral compass here to this, large language model that is, sort of interacting with us as humans. But those consequences are there, and so we have to be careful of them. We have to keep them in mind. I highly encourage you to read this article. And so in order to do that, you need these. You need the links. I appreciate your time, your attention today. I really appreciate all of you who continue to watch. And I look forward to talking about more AI news and data science news and machine learning news in the future. Again, consider, how do you think about artificial intelligence? And can you think about it in a way that doesn't put too much personification to it, that we can really understand realistically what's happening, but then ask some more complex philosophical questions as the complexity of those builds increases? With that, very deep and deeply intellectual, because that's what I do, comment. I bid you all a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for listening. Again, I already said that, but I can't thank you enough. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. Bye.